Okay, guys, so at this point, the next thing we're going to do is Sonia is going to ask us our name. So in order to do this, all we just need to still do is call the no, no, no. So, okay. So at this point, we're going to now start engaging in a conversation with Sonia, and this conversation doesn't end, right? So we're going to put this inside of a loop because the repetitive conversation. Should we go back and forth? It's a repetitive conversation. So we're going to put this inside of the loop because it doesn't end. So we'll say while, and then we'll say while true. So while true means while this whole block of code, or while this keyword here is always true, while this remains true, I want you to keep on speaking with Sonia. I want Sonia to keep on interacting with the user while this is true. This would only um, break if this becomes false, or if we call the break keyword, then the while loop is going to break. So we'll leave this as true. This is just a normal Python convention. Most times it's with speed. You could see programmers saying while one, while one, or they could perform a logic that says while Sonia is equal to speaking. So while Sonia is still speaking, this would run, right? But we want to say while true here. And then the next thing that happens is inside of this would all run first. All of this would run first. As soon as this runs, what's going to happen inside of this while true statement? Sonia is now going to ask us our name. And to do that, we'll say Sonia dot speak. And inside of it, we have to pass in the text she has to say. What's your name, right? And inside, after she says this, what's the next thing that happened? If you remember during the pictorial explanation I was giving you of the control flow, logical control flow, after she says her name, the next thing that happens is that we are going to tell Sonia um, our name. So this is Sonia's first speech. Remember, when I was doing all those drawings, this is Sonia's second speech. During Sonia's second speech, that is when we make our first speech, right? So, not our first speech, anyways. We're not actually talking. We're actually talking with her via typing. So we're going to use the input function in Python to interact with Sonia. So to do this, we'll put our name. We'll call this username. We'll put this inside of a variable. The reason why we're doing this so that Sonia could have access to the variable. So that's why we're storing this in a variable. And then we'll say input, then we'll say enter name on the space here. And as soon as uh, we enter our name, we want Sonia now to execute her fourth speech by saying, is it her fourth or third speech? One, two, yeah, her third speech by saying, nice to meet you, use whatever name was passed into this, and say, and ask again, what would you have me do? So we could tag all of that by saying, Sonia, remember we just built a method, and all we need to do is call the method of that class called sonia.speech, and then we'll use an f string, nice to meet you, and then interpolation inside of this we'll say user name, which is this guy here, and we'll say what would you have me do? Yeah, awesome. So at this point where Sonia says what would have I do, we will now have to reply, right? This is when we make our second speech after the third speech of Sonia. At this point, we now need to give another input telling Sonia what we would like her to do for us. We initialize a variable called tax. But whatever we tell her to do with the tax, we said, and we'll ask, this is basically collecting the data for what we would want to do. Basically asking the user, taking the input for the user. But inside of the input, we want to still ask the user, what would you have me do for you, right? What would you have me do for you? Yeah, awesome. So at this point, we're going to stop here at this point and then run the code, and then let's see what happens. But this is always going to run. So in order to avoid recursion, what we call recursion on our system, we're going to include a break, right? So that as soon as you get to this line, we want to break this whole piece of code, the while loop. We want to break, we want to exit the while loop. So I'll save this and then I'll run this again.
Hello, I'm Sonia, your virtual companion. Here is a list of what I could do. What's your name?
Okay. My name is Precious.
Nice to meet you, Precious. What would you have me do?
Uh, would tell me a riddle. So yeah, that's it for this. So tell me a riddle. That was where we stopped. We just give. So the next thing Sonia is going to do is she takes our tax and then looks at the tax to know if um, she takes the tax and then looks at the tax and then try to understand the tax and then perform an operation, carry out an operation of events on that tax. So that's it for this video, guys. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to validate the tax and how to check. Okay, it's Sonia trying to tell me, sorry, it's the user trying to tell me, play me a music or tell me a video or tell me a joke. So how do we let Sonia understand our intents? So in the next video, we'll be doing that.